Hey everybody, here we are, 11:15 Eastern Time. There has been some new news that I want to pass along. And hey Doc, and notice over my shoulder, look how that thing is starting to blow back up again. But look on that southern side on this. It clears out. That's dry air moving into it. But that core is really trying to get back stronger. Now, do I think it'll make hurricane status before it hits Puerto Rico? No, I don't. But it is getting stronger. At the bottom of the screen, you'll see really there hasn't been much change in the information on it. Instead of west-northwest, it's now moving northwest at 13. Hey Raven, Michelle, Southpaw. It's still only 50 mile per hour winds. The pressure has went up one. My last update, it was 1,005. It's 1,006. Nah, not much to talk about. But it is trying to get stronger. Now I tell you what, with this 11 o'clock update, the long term is gotten a lot better. They're actually thinking that this could make hurricane status before it reaches Florida. So let's take a look at that. Let me switch scenes here, go full screen. And this is the current as of 11 o'clock Eastern Time. Thanks, Southpaw. And the track hasn't really changed that much, but I don't know if you can see it or not. But that dot there, that dot there, that dot there, that's actually showing an H for a hurricane. So the outlook is that it could reach 80 mile per hour winds, which is Cat 1, by the time it gets near Florida. Now remember, folks, the black line, that's the center line of the cone. It could go on either side of that. Anywhere in that cone, this thing could travel. So don't take this in stone, because it could make landfall up by Savannah, Georgia, or clear down by Miami. And the reason for that is, at the beginning of the cone, the models are more consistent. The further it goes out in time, the more the models start to spread. The errors in the models and that. So, pretty much the track is the same. Now, the reason why, notice this cone takes this bit of a curve here. And the reason why that is there's going to be a low pressure system that's coming down, and I'll show that to you here in a bit. There's end up going to be a low right in there, and that's going to kind of affect it and steer it. Remember, low pressure systems spin counterclockwise, so it's kind of want to steer it around it. Now earlier I was showing you the winch here, And that was from this low pressure. Let me show you that in the upper dynamics. Just this is the same that I showed you earlier. This is wind shear. Here's Dorian. And here's this low up in here that's going to come down, and it's going to have winds going that direction and winds going that direction. So that's going to affect it somewhat. Again, it's upper air level low, and that's going to create that shear, which shear is always the bad thing. Great for tornado weather, but bad for hurricanes. I'll talk about what was 980L here in a minute. Here is the current suggestion for timing and wind field. Hey, Beavis. So by tomorrow evening, this thing's going to be hitting Puerto Rico. There again, like I was saying a couple hours ago, Puerto Rico's got those mountains that's over 4,000 feet. It's going to affect it. It's going to weaken it. That's just the way it goes. But the models are now saying that once it gets past Puerto Rico, it's going to strengthen. They're calling for possible 60, 65 mile per hour winds hitting Puerto Rico. And then it's going to die down to 50 and go back up to 65 not long afterwards. Now, I haven't gotten any new model runs on Euro from what I showed you earlier. But you can see here as it's passing over Puerto Rico that it really looks a lot weaker. And that's just because of the mountains and the wind shear. And it looks kind of weak. Now this is the GFS. But there you can start seeing it getting stronger. And my last broadcast, I mentioned about the different models showing it down in the upper 900s on the millibars. So that means it's going to strengthen. Now the models are totally not in agreement because it's so far out. There it's got it going up between Jacksonville, Florida and Jacksonville, Florida and Savannah, Georgia. And then turning and go back out to sea and re-strengthen again. A lot of that's going to be to the what we call the Bermuda High. There's going to be a big high pressure system out there in the Atlantic that's going to help steer this. So let's go ahead and talk about Irwin. Yes, 98L / Tropical Depression 6 has got its own name now. It's now a tropical storm, and it's called Irwin. It's really not going to affect too much of the eastern coast. It's at 40 mile per hour winds, 1005 millibar. Now it's showing it moving west at 2 miles per hour. But here's the cone on it. And that's going to say a tropical storm. Now, what could happen is that it gets up in this area. The outer bands could bring a whole lot of rain up here around Long Island, the Outer Banks. And whatnot, but or the outer islands, I should say, but not really going to cause that much. Now there is a trough and a frontal system that's going to be down around in there, and that's going to help with this thing coming this way. It's going to produce a lot of rain in the upper northeast. No, it's not going to act with Dorian whatsoever. And I can show you this. You know, Dorian. Dorian's moving this way. Irwin is going to move this way. And you can see how far apart they are. So Irwin will be well out of the way. The main issues with Dorian is going to be a high out here, this low that's going to come down around here, and then we're going to have a high over here in the Gulf. That's what's going to be affecting Dorian. Let's go ahead and look at water vapor. And then water vapor, you'll see the beginning of that low that I'm talking about. It's really weak and hard to see. I'll zoom in on it and you'll see it. See that counterclockwise spin? It's an upper level low. I'll pause it here. And it's right here. Okay? What's the counterclockwise spin? Now that's going to move down to the southwest. And that's due to a high pressure system up here in the Atlantic. But you kind of see it. It's right about there. Now that's going to scoot down this direction. And that's what's going to cause Dorian to make that funny little turn around like that. That low pressure is kind of push it out of the way. So there's not a whole lot of change with this update. You can see the dry air all around this thing. Now notice, hey Etchy, notice on the southern side. Now you're not seeing a lot of brown down here at the bottom. Get that low symbol out of the way. But just notice on water vapor, the clouds. See how they kind of die out right in that area? And what that means starting to suck in some dry air in that direction. But it's really cool that it's still got these fingers going out. That's outflow. That tells me right there that it's still pretty strong. When I switch back to infrared, watch this. I'll zoom in. Watch how it's building up. So it is getting stronger. Now this is kind of typical for nighttime for tropical storms. And the reason why is the upper atmosphere is cooling off after the sun went down. But yet the waters is still really warm. Hey James. So there's that uplift. Heat rises. So you got these warm waters, which is in the 80s, and the upper atmosphere is cooling off. So you got this updraft that's feeding this core. And that's the reason why a lot of times you'll see a tropical storm get stronger overnight. It's because of that big temperature difference. Yeah, that's what I'm seeing on the models. The last forecast was before it hits Florida, could be 80 mile per hour winds and 75 by the time it makes landfall. So that's Cat 1. Again, I'll show you the categories. Let me turn some of this off. There's your Saffir-Simpson scale. So 74 to 95 mile per hour winds is the Cat 1. Yeah, Jen. It's still all going to depend what happens over the next 24 to 36 hours. If it makes it over those mountains without dying, then it's going to get really strong. Again, the mountains there in Puerto Rico is over 4,300 feet. It's a good thing it's not going over here to Dominican Republic, where the mountains were over 10,000 feet. Yeah, good, James. Yeah, let's keep an eye on this thing. You know, I was saying a couple hours ago on my last broadcast, I really didn't have a lot of confidence in this thing until after it passes over Puerto Rico. Then we'll know. Because what's going to happen, if it stays together, once it gets up in here, and like I say, Irwin is going northeast. It's going to get out of the way. That's Irwin there. And it's going to get out of the way. But this whole area of waters are in the upper 80s to low 90s the closer it gets to Florida. That's fuel. Like I was saying last night, the one thing that a tropical storm needs is fuel. It needs open waters and high temperatures. The warmer the waters, the stronger the thing's going to get. Now notice something else too. If we look at that cone, since it's changed. Whoops. Okay, notice these islands of the Bahamas. Now, those islands would ordinarily kind of affect it a little bit. But notice the track on it. It's going around the Bahamas. And it's warmer waters. So it's got even, if it can survive down here at Puerto Rico and can actually, start rebuilding about there, it's going to hit warmer waters, warmer on that whole track. And it's going to miss these islands. Remember, landfall is not good. So, if it keeps staying like this, and if it can get past those mountains in Puerto Rico, yes, I agree. I mean, they've got it showing Cat 1 hurricane right there. So we'll just have to keep an eye out. Now up in here, they're showing possible 80 mile per hour wind, which is still kind of low end to mid range Cat 1. But it's so early yet, it could be a lot stronger. It could be a lot stronger. Only because of all these warm waters and no islands. And when it gets up in here, there's not going to be hardly any shear in this area. Remember that last night I was talking about one of the things that'll kill a storm is shear. So once it gets past this low that's going to produce the shear like that, once it gets past that, then the shear really drops down. But like I say, remember, this cone is not written in stone. It can go anywhere in that cone. And the model spread out because of the errors. The longer as time runs, that's the reason why the cone gets wider. And this cone is liable to change. I mean, they're actually showing it could be barely a Cat 1 at Orlando if it stays on the center of that cone. They're showing 75 mile per hour winds. And it looks like the timing so far, now this is all going to change because this thing could speed up, slow down. Sometime Saturday, it could make landfall. As far as Florida goes, it'll hit Puerto Rico by tomorrow evening. It's only moving 13 miles per hour. Once it passes Puerto Rico and gets into warmer waters, it could really speed up. And that'll change all this timing. So we just got to keep a close eye over the next 36 to 48 hours to know exactly what's going to happen in Florida. Yeah, I hope it misses Florida too. But Florida's going to get something. Something. I mean, even as this thing dies out after going over Puerto Rico. And 4 years ago, in 2015, there was a tropical storm, Erica. It's the only tropical storm that I know they retired the name of. And that was because it totally devastated Puerto Rico. And the forecast cone on it had it going up to Florida, but right after it passed Puerto Rico, it just died. It just totally died. So it could either be like Erica, or it could turn around and get stronger and cause some major devastation. And it is that right time of the year. You got to remember, our peak for hurricane season is the first week of September. I tell you what, talking about the Gulf, there is one model, one run here of the Euro. Let me back it up here. That has it right there in the Gulf. And the Gulf is even warmer waters than what the east side of Florida is. That's the Euro. That's for Sunday, and that's Monday. But it's so far away, it's too hard to call it just yet. So I don't want everybody freaking out just yet. Located in the Panhandle. Hey, stay tuned to my broadcast because I will try to give you the best updated information. And as this thing gets closer, I keep doing that, hitting the wrong scene there. As this thing gets closer, I'll do more and more broadcasts, James. I know you're over on YouTube. I will do more and more broadcasts during the day. So, and as it gets really close, if it's going to be really strong, I'll be doing longer broadcasts. I'll stay with this thing as long as I can. So everybody, stay tuned because I'm not a professional at this. I'm just an analyst. So I will try to get you the most correct, accurate, up-to-date information as this thing gets closer. And I'm not only going to do that for my storm chasers, which I might have 4 going down there, but I want to keep everybody safe. What state am I in? I'm in Ohio. I'm in Southwest Ohio. Hey, thanks for the bits. Appreciate that. Yeah, if y'all like what I do and want me to be able to keep coming to you, if you can, I would really appreciate donations. Whether it's Bit, Twitch Prime, Amazon Prime, which, by the way, if you're Amazon Prime, you can subscribe to my channel, and from what I was told, it won't cost you any extra, but it would really help me out. Or you can do straight donations to streamlabs.com/bgraywx. It's all greatly appreciated, and it really helps me with my equipment and my costs to be able to keep doing this. Your son lives near Columbus, James. If you know where Richmond, Indiana is, right on the border, I'm about 30 miles south and just over on the Ohio side. I live near Oxford. Oh, you talking about Hurricane Barry? My namesake? That turned out not to be a very strong hurricane, but by golly, it sure caused a lot of flooding. So I guess you can say I was all wet. So that's what I have uh, for this update, folks. Got any questions? I'd be glad to answer them. Insert rim shot. Yeah, Nola. I said earlier that I was going to go ahead and do this 11 o'clock update. And the reason why I wanted to do this is because I knew the hurricane hunters were flying around in it on my last broadcast, but that information hadn't went into the models yet. So I was really looking forward to this 11 o'clock. Yeah, 11 o'clock Eastern time. Oh, that's fine. As you can see here over my shoulder, the core of it is trying to re-strengthen. And Nola, they are calling for it to be a possible Cat 1 hurricane by the time it gets near Florida. But I'm not that quite wound up about this yet. I mean, I kind of am, but I got to see what's going to happen. You know, after it passes over Puerto Rico and it gets through that wind shear. But, I mean, it could peter out. 4,390 feet on the mountains in Puerto Rico. And that's going to hurt it. It's going to hurt it a lot. But look at this. Let me switch screens here. Now, earlier, they were saying it was going to hit like southwest Puerto Rico. To me, the way I'm tracking this, if it doesn't change, it's going to go right there. Yeah, it's supposed to hit Puerto Rico tomorrow evening. So, about 20 hours from now, something like that, give or take. So, the way this thing's tracking, I'm thinking it's going to hit eastern Puerto Rico. Let me go ahead and put that back in motion and zoom in on it. Now, don't it look like that to you? They were saying Ponce was going to get hit, and Ponce is like right in there on the south northwestern. But the way I'm seeing it, I got to head it towards San Juan. Now they're not saying that yet. So, and they're professionals, but maybe they're not watching as close as I am. Now, let me stop this. Whoops. If it makes this glancing blow, it's going to stay strong. And the reason why I say that is the mountain range is more or less right in there. So if it stays away from that yellow line, that's where the mountain range is. If it goes over here where I drew that blue circle, it's not going to hurt it near as much. I mean, the whole island of Puerto Rico is going to get devastated. But one thing you got to think about as far as rainfall is if most of that does hit on the northern side of those mountains, all the major flooding is going to be to the north and not the south. It's the way I'm looking at it. I'm not always right, but I try hard. But that's what I'm seeing right there. So now that it's nighttime and you can see there it's blowing up, it's getting stronger. And the circulation, I'll pause this and I'll kind of show you here if I can get my pointer moving right. I'm seeing the center about right in there. If you watch the clouds on the bottom of it, how it's spinning around. The center's somewhere in that area. My next update won't be till 2 in the morning. And they won't be flying no more tonight. That's the next update, is 2 a.m. Eastern time. So to me, that core is headed right for San Juan. Hey, Scott Ward. You know, I kind of feel for people that's on cruise ships. The cool thing is, from what I've heard tonight, the cruise ships are changing their routes for the Caribbean, and they're going to try to stay away from this. But for the people that's went down there to vacation, oh Lord, they're going to get a lesson. And I know the Weather Channel has got one guy, Paul Goodlow. He's down there in Ponche, Puerto Rico, which, like I say, is down in the southwest coast. He might get stuck there. Yeah, Nola, never vacation in Caribbean during hurricane season. There are so many places that they can go to, though, that's still really cool. That happened 2 years ago. A storm chaser that I know, he went to Puerto Rico when Maria hit down there, and he could not get out of there for a while. He ended up having to take a ship out because the airport there at San Juan was heavily damaged. And that was a Cat 4, real close to, could have been a Cat 5 when it made landfall, and that went right across Puerto Rico. It actually got hit more than once 2 years ago. But one thing that really bothers me, and I'll pause this. No, they haven't fully recovered. I've seen some video of some of the outer areas, and they say they fully recovered as far as electricity. Last I heard, they haven't. Hey, thanks for the follow. But one thing that really bothers me with this storm, you got this outer band here. Okay, that's good outflow. But that means this is inflow. And when I zoom out and go to water vapor mode, look what's surrounding this thing. Dry air. So whenever you have an outflow outer band, in between is an inflow, and it's sucking in this dry air. Now the dry air, especially over here on the western side, is not near as bad as it was last night, which I predicted, it would start filling in. And so the same on the south side, but there's still drier air in there. The African dust is more back here. Oh, I tell you what, Katrina, look how many years it's been, since that. And that wasn't the strongest hurricane. And there's still people down there in Louisiana in areas that still haven't recovered from Katrina. I'll go back to infrared here. I wished I had visible satellite. It takes a long time and a hell of a lot of money. Let me see if I can get this other website to work. This website, I can actually see cloud cover even at nighttime. And when I zoom in, you can see pockets of the overshooting storms. I'll pause it here and point it out. Watch this area here. There's an area here, and I think there will be an area up here it'll pop up. Those are individual thunderstorms. Really see them, how they're blowing up there. That's a good sign, if that's what you want. It's starting to look like it's trying to get compact again. But look at Hurricane Barry here a couple minutes, and that's with all the upgrades in that part of Louisiana to help out with flooding. Now imagine back in, and even with the new upgrades, as small as Hurricane Barry was, there was still a levee break. Let's pop in some lightning and see how that looks. I just added another overlay that shows lightning. This is all from the GO-16 satellite. No, that's only 12 frames. Let me see if I can load up 36. This website has been giving me some headaches here lately. Okay, let me see if I can load up more. I'll try 48 and go even further back in time. It's going to take a little bit here. It's not real bad on lightning, but what that lightning's telling me is that's the cells that are trying to intensify. Yeah, it's trying to skip frames there. I've been having that trouble with that website. Yeah, we can take a look here. We got some more waves coming off of Africa. So this is nowhere near done. Now it goes east. I can't really, look over that part of Africa. But I could see here in the Saharan Desert area, and we can watch these waves coming off. Now, like I said the other day, we'll have waves this time of year every 3 to 5 days that comes off of Africa. And so you can kind of see a line of them. So we're nowhere near done. I think we're somewhere around 80% of the hurricane season is still left to go. Now we'll look at water vapor for that area. Now here about a month ago, this area in here was all orange, was Saharan desert air. Notice how the moisture is really filled in. Yeah, it'll go through November. So this area of super dry air from the Saharan desert air and the dust, it's slowly getting smaller. Slowly getting smaller. So I'm really looking for some of these ways to really, get enhanced and cause some more trouble in the coming month. And now that El Nino has died down, notice there hasn't been very many warnings for the East Pacific. Once Evo died out, I haven't seen any more invest popping up. And that's all because of El Nino died. And the bad thing about El Nino that causes the waters to be warmer here in the Pacific. But once that died out, because El Nino was causing a lot of shear over here in the Atlantic. Well, now that's died out, the shear is dissipating. So that's really going to help as far as formation in the Atlantic this year. It was kind of a weak El Nino. It really didn't last long. What surprised me is, this time of year, there's usually really strong monsoons in Arizona. And this year it's been pretty weak. I mean, we got some thunderstorms out here, but the monsoon season, which is great to photograph, it's been pretty weak this year. And I think a lot of that is due to the El Nino dying out. Water temperature out where? In the Pacific? I don't have that page loaded up for water temperature for Pacific. Yeah, pretty much, Big D. There was some monsoons happening, but it was pretty weak. In the Atlantic, water temperatures far east is in the upper 70s. The more you go west, the warmer it gets. Where Dorian is in the 80s as far as water temperature. And then when you get up here near Florida, it's mid 80s, close to 90. And the Gulf Coast is in the 90s. I've been keeping an eye on that. That's the reason why I was saying once it gets past Puerto Rico and it goes around the Bahamas, it's going to run into warmer and warmer water. The further northwest it gets, the closer it gets to Florida, the warmer the waters get. So there's the fuel, like I talked about last night. These storms need fuel. They need warmer waters. They can still form in the 70s, but when they start running into 80s, possibly 90 degree weather, or 90 degree temps for the water, the stronger they're going to get. And that's because of the evaporation of the warmer waters. It evaporates more quickly the warmer the water is. So that's just fuel feeding right into it. Think of a tropical storm as a heat pump. That's basically what it is. It's a heat pump. It's sucking in all that warm stuff and it's spewing out colder stuff. So that's pretty much all I've got for now. Again, if I see a significant change tomorrow afternoon, I'll do an update after 2 o'clock Eastern Time. I'll definitely will do one between 8:15, 8:30 for the 8 o'clock update. The reason why I have to wait after the 8 o'clock, because it takes me a while to go through all the information and read the data that they've got in, because sometimes they're a little bit late, like they was at 8 o'clock tonight. It was like 8:15, 8:20 before I actually got to see the latest data, even though they had already updated the web pages, but the text hadn't been uploaded yet. And again, as this thing gets closer, I'll do more and more updates per day. So thanks again, everybody, for joining me. I've got a lot more people than I thought would be here this time of night. So, daggone, keep hitting that wrong scene. But thanks, everybody, for joining me. I really appreciate it. And we'll see you tomorrow night, or maybe tomorrow afternoon. We'll see what this thing does. But it's not going to pass over Puerto Rico until late tomorrow. So most likely it'll be just the 8 o'clock. Any significant change, I'll bring it up sooner. So thanks again. Y'all have a good night. We'll catch you on the next broadcast.